So a new James Bond film is coming out at the end of this year, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. In fact, before COVID delayed the film to late this year, I actually bought tickets for the Dolby Cinema showing, and was gonna go, and I was actually really looking forward to it. But now with the film delayed to November, I don't know if I necessarily feel comfortable sitting back in the theater again to go see this movie. It's gonna really have to depend. Anyway, that's by the by. What I am doing, though, to sort of prepare for my excitement of No Time to Die coming up, is I went through all the Daniel Craig Bond games, and additionally, I actually purchased the full Daniel Craig collection set without, No Time to Die, obviously, on 4K Blu-ray. And I'm going to watch all those films again on 4K Blu-ray as we sort of get closer to the release of No Time to Die. So I'm actually really looking forward to it. And Quantum of Solace, when it came out, although I was very aware of its release and actually wanted to play it at the time, I never did, which is kind of a shame because I have to be completely honest with you, having played now all the Bond games that released during the 7th gen, this is probably the best one in my opinion. However, having been a big fan of the older Bond games, specifically the ones on PS2, my favorite Bond game of all time is Everything or Nothing, just for reference. I feel like the Bond games last generation, the 7th gen ones, didn't really have that spark. There was something here missing. They felt like they were more just sort of trying to fill a gap in releases, and I just sort of feel like these games kind of were a bit uninspired. Not saying that they weren't fun. It's just that the storytelling, the gameplay, it wasn't as unique or as interesting as the 6th generation Bond games. But I'm going to go through and play those games again. I want to actually collect those games, get them for my collection, because although I'm fully complete and up to date on my 7th generation collection, minus just like 2 or 3 games at this point, I haven't started a 6th gen collection, and the Bond games are definitely ones that I want to go and play. Regardless, I played Quantum of Solace for the first time and was actually generally very surprised. Now, in this particular video you guys are seeing right now on your screen, you're going to notice some frame rate drops. So I kind of went full vintage mode. I took out an original OG 2005 Xbox 360, a launch model, and I played this game on that console, and was sort of like reliving the days of the past, if you will, of what the gameplay experience would have been like in 2008. However, I noticed immediately upon starting that the frame rate was absolute garbage, and it was running like in the mid to lower 20 FPS range and not really going up. And so I actually played the entire game that way. I thought it was Quantum of Solace. I was like, wow, is this game really that badly optimized? But I just, I looked up some information about it, and I didn't see anyone really talking about performance issues besides the terrible PC port and the Nintendo Wii release. So I actually started this game up, once I beat the game on that original 360, I started the game up on my Xbox 360 Slim. And it was running fine, and all those frame rate issues were completely, removed, and the game was just performing fine. So something with the OG hardware, keep in mind, that's a 15-year-old console, right? This is like an original launch unit, and I'm very fortunate enough to have one that works, and it wasn't ever serviced either. This is a separate video for a different time, but just to tell you guys what my sort of gameplay experience was like, I sort of played it on that console, getting the full experience, if you will, with the same hardware. I even got an original 360 white controller, so I was like in full 2008 gaming mode, playing this game. And regardless of the performance issues, I actually had a lot of fun playing this game. I do like the way it plays. Treyarch made this game, and it's a bit interesting because it came out, and I believe this is probably why I didn't play it the first time. It came out just a couple weeks before Call of Duty World at War, and having played, the Call of Duty series, and Call of Duty 4 really put the series on the map in terms of competitive multiplayer gameplay. And, if you were active for online play back then, that was like, the big thing. People played Call of Duty 4, they played Halo 3, and then Gears of War was also pretty huge. And so this game came out like a week or two prior to Call of Duty World at War, and I think that is why, I think that release, which Treyarch also made as well, sort of just completely overtook the Quantum of Solace game and just obliterated it, and therefore no one really played it. So that's the only really reason I could come up with as to why I didn't play this game. But I knew it, at the time when it was coming out, I knew it was there, and I did have the intention to play it. I just never did. But keep in mind, I was 14 years old. I wasn't making money like I do now, and this was like a couple weeks after I started the Industrial Gamer YouTube channel. Anyway, getting down to the nitty-gritty of playing this game for the first time, I think it still holds up. In fact, having now played all the Bond games in the 7th generation, I have to say that this is my favorite of all of them. And the reason is that it just comes to the moment-to-moment action and gunplay. What I really like about this game is that you get to go to all these different locations for not only Quantum of Solace, which, to be honest, was probably my least favorite Daniel Craig Bond film of his that he's done. I just didn't find it that compelling, but half of this game is literally a flashback to Casino Royale, which I think is one of the best Bond films of all time, if not the best one. And so it's the perfect opportunity for a game. And unfortunately with this, they really botched the storytelling. And that's probably my main biggest issue with this game. This game attempts to retell the stories of Quantum of Solace and Casino Royale, but does it terribly. I mean, characters are jumping from one location to the next. You're just thrown into different situations. All of a sudden, you're starting off from the beginning of Quantum of Solace with the car chase and everything like that, to the rooftop foot chase, and then all of a sudden you're transported to like the end of the movie when you're like in the caves and stuff, and all of a sudden the game turns into a flashback. It's so bizarre. Like, I just feel like there was obviously something missing there. Like, Treyarch may have wanted to put more effort into this game, may have wanted to do more, but I don't know if the budget wasn't there or if the time wasn't there. I mean, it's a bit surprising that they released this, again, 2 weeks before they were going to release a Call of Duty game, and they put significantly more effort into Call of Duty World at War. It's so evident here. But, that's like the first thing that I noticed when I was playing this game. I was like, wow, if I never saw Quantum of Solace or Casino Royale, I wouldn't have any idea what the fuck is happening. That's this game's probably biggest fault. However, the actual moment-to-moment gunplay in this game is really, really fun. And what I really appreciate about this game is it sort of harkens back to the older James Bond games where you have the opportunity to play it how you want. And so you see me here kind of sneaking through and taking out enemies. I can just as easily pick up an assault rifle and start gunning everyone down and playing it like a typical first-person shooter. But having, my particular playstyle, I like stealth. Actually, whenever given the opportunity, I prefer stealth overall. And so this game really allowed me to sort of play it at my own pace. And yeah, there were some moments where it sort of thrust you into the action, and the shooting mechanics are they're functional. I don't think they're anything particularly special. Call of Duty in particular handles a lot better, but keep in mind that game's running at double the frame rate of this game, and it's just a lot more streamlined. I think what we have here is a solid James Bond game, but it's that storytelling that just really ruins it for me, with this one. And it's so jarring because of how often it jumps just from one moment to the next. And it's a bit weird because, again, if you haven't seen those movies, you would have absolutely zero idea what is happening. But, regardless, I think this is a really solid campaign. It does last you around 6 to 8 hours, so it's actually decently long. However, if you really invest and put yourself into it, you could beat this game in, a single day or two. So it's not, it's not going to last you for an eternity. And especially now, because this game does have competitive multiplayer, I actually jumped online to see if I could find a game. I think I found 2 people total in a lobby, but it wouldn't let me start the game because no one had, we need to have a certain amount of players, I guess. So there are people trying to actually play the game, if you can believe it or not, all these years later. But however, your luck actually finding a game, may vary. So I wasn't able to really test out the multiplayer, but what I can tell you is that just based off of the single player campaign, there's some really cool moments here. they kind of alter the scenes from the movies to sort of make them more action oriented and more interesting from a gameplay perspective. I'm generally fine with that. So like for instance, in Casino Royale, where Bond meets Vesper for the first time on the train, that section is actually turned into a ginormous action segment where you're on top of the trains and jumping from one train to the other, and it's actually really, really cool, and the graphics actually hold up fairly well. I would say that the only thing that doesn't really hold up are the character models. They do appear low polygon compared to what we have now, but the actual environments, because this game takes more of an artistic approach to its color palette and its textures and design, it actually ends up being a fairly decent looking game. And I think the shadow work is done really well. The lighting's done pretty decently. I mean, this is a really solid looking game, and I wouldn't consider this really dated by any means. There's some good effects in here. Especially again, if I think back to that train sequence where you have the rain sort of running off the sides of the train and stuff, there is some decent detail. So anyway, playing Quantum of Solace for the first time was enjoyable, and I definitely was glad I played it, because actually when I sit down and think about it, this is probably the best James Bond game we got for the PS3 and 360. However, again, that's not saying much, having played the ones from the 6th generation, where it was just a really different time. Activision put a lot more effort into creating these games, and you sort of get the impression that they put that these games are just here to sort of cast a check, and they just want to make money on the license, which is a shame, because James Bond has huge potential for a great video game, and I really want someone to take the elements of like Hitman, the dynamism of Hitman, and put it in a James Bond game. That would be really, really cool. But we're gonna have to wait and see for that to happen. What I'm really sad about is that we haven't got a James Bond game this generation, and that sucks. And I know that the movies have been sort of slow on releases, since the new consoles have came out. But man, I really felt the loss of James Bond during the PS4 and the Xbox One, and just to have these games, which are, they may not be anything special in particular, but they're just a lot of fun to sort of go through. It's a good time, and there seems to be a lot less of those games overall. But it was really sad, thinking back, we haven't got a single James Bond game this generation. Just another small detail of why I dislike the 8th generation. It's little things like that. And that's a shame, that's a real shame, because these were a lot of fun. Anyway, for it now, I think James Bond Quantum of Solace actually holds up fairly well. I enjoyed my time with the game, and I hope that they do make a new James Bond game for the PlayStation 5 and the Series X. I think that'd be great to see, like a fully tapped out graphical Bond game, preferably third person. That's my favorite perspective when playing Bond. I think that'd be really, really cool. So we're going to have to wait and see on that, though. For now, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you played Quantum of Solace, let me know what you guys thought back in the day. And yeah, I still think this game is worth sort of revisiting. If you're in the mood for just a fun FPS or wanting to relive those Bond moments, this is definitely a solid entry, I would say. And yeah, so I'll look forward to hearing what you guys have to say, and we'll talk later. Thanks.